Is it the magic that makes the Macho Mage? Or is the Macho Mage magical? Hello there everyone, welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Joining me is my most adorable co-host, Finn, apprentice storyteller and uninitiated as yet to any circles of lore with incredibly curious hands, ready to do a taste test for just about anything and everything. Today, we are going on with the next part of the first edition Pathfinder Wizard Guide. Today, we begin our journey going down their spells. Now, this is not going to cover every single last spell in their spell list. This is just meant to be a primer, meant to kind of get you up and going, give those of you who are new to the game or haven't really ever played a wizard before an idea of what you can pick out that will work well for you, as well as lean into the kind of build that we have going so far for the Macho Mage. But before we get into all of that, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. Whoop. Saved it. Now, let's go ahead and get going into things here before we end up conking ourselves and delivering a knockout. So, to kick things off, we are going to start off with our 0 level spells, and this is going to go kind of quick because these are your cantrips. These are things that you're going to make regular use of, particularly early game for some of these, but for a good chunk of your career on others, like read magic. Decipher magic inscriptions on objects for 10 minutes per level, and read at a rate of 1 page per minute. Seems a little bit slow, but it averages out to about 250 words is what it says in the spell description. Detect magic. Detects all spells and magic items within 60 feet. Definitely is something that's going to be handy for a long time. Then resistance. This is going to be great for early levels or in those moments where you think you need just that last little bit to survive. Target gains +1 on saving throws, and it's a resistance bonus, so it won't stack with cloaks of resistance that do the same thing, possibly at higher numbers, but for those early levels, this is going to be indispensable. And then we have Mage Hand, telekinesis with a weight limit of 5 pounds. That is going to be massively useful for you. That's going to have an incredible amount of utility for a wide variety of situations, such as being able to reach into a spot that's dangerous and might otherwise inflict damage on you and retrieving whatever's inside, or activating whatever lever, button, mechanism that you might need to have activated. Lastly, we have Acid Splash. It has a range of 25 feet plus 5 feet every 2 levels, and it's if you are going to fire an acid orb that deals 1d3 points of damage. Now, there's no save, no spell resistance applied from this, and if you've decided to go with evocation and you get that intense spells feature, you get to add damage on top of this because this is your first evocation spell. Now, going on from there to our first level spells, we have Mage Armor. This is going to provide you a +4 armor bonus, lasting 1 hour per level, which is incredible. 1 hour is going to get you through a significant number of combats that you might find yourself involved in, and because it is a force effect, it doesn't incur any armor check penalties, no percentage chance of spell failure when you're casting your magic. All the way around, this is going to be a good spell for quite a long time for you. Then we have Summon Monster 1. This has a range of 25 feet plus 5 feet every 2 caster levels for its range. And then you summon 1 creature that stays for 1 round per level. The Eagle or Pony option are going to be your best bet out of this list. Both have these Smite Evil or Good options depending on what your alignment is. Then we come to Enlarge Person. Enlarge 1 humanoid creature to the next size category. This gives a +2 strength bonus, -2 dex, and -1 penalty or size penalty to your armor class. And the target will occupy a 10-foot space and have a 10-foot reach, and lasts 1 minute per caster level. So that's a pretty durable combat buff as it is, and you're not going to be using this on yourself, or at least not at first. This is going to go on the barbarian, the fighter, any of those character classes that are getting into the thick of melee and really wailing away on opponents. That's who this is going to be for, especially starting out. And then we come to long arm. Make your arms grow, increasing reach by 5 feet. So this is going to be handy working with your staff or any other melee weapons you might happen to be proficient with if you do find yourself having to get into a bit of a melee to defend yourself or help protect your allies. So that's going to be a great combat buff to have. It's certainly worth having handy. Next we have grease, and this is going to be a bit of battlefield control. Create a layer of grease over a 10-foot square within 25 feet plus 5 feet every 2 caster levels. The opponents in the area or passing through it have to make reflex saves to avoid falling. This one knows what I'm talking about. And moving at half speed allows them to make acrobatic checks. Failing requires a save, while failing by 5 is an automatic fall. So that's going to be pretty handy right then and there, making the targets fall prone, especially for any of your melee-capable allies, or if you've got long arm cast on yourself and you want to take a whack at somebody using your staff. Now, as an example of a spell to avoid, skip out on True Strike. It's a standard action to grant yourself, and only yourself, a plus 20 bonus to your next attack. Great, so you're burning into your action economy to make an attack that, if you're going with the standard portion of this guide where you're not building a transmutation wizard that's focused on getting into melee, you're basically burning up a couple 2 turns to try to make good on a strike that you might not be all that well built to capitalize on. Maybe with your crossbow if the opponent's fleeing and you really want to make sure they can't get away, but you have the time to be able to spend that standard action on it. But that's incredibly circumstantial, and really at that point you might as well just have this as like some kind of a scroll or something. So that'll be that there. And then we also have the color spray spell. This has a 15-foot cone effect, has a number of effects with the will save to negate. 2 hit dice or less creatures will be rendered unconscious, blinded, and stunned for 2d4 rounds. Then they are blinded and stunned for 1d4 rounds, and then stunned for 1 round. 3 to 4 hit dice creatures will be blinded and stunned 1d4 rounds, then stunned 1 round, and 5 hit dice creatures will be stunned for 1 round. Now, as you advance in level, this will start to be less and less effective over time because it's only going to be limited to 5 hit dice or less creatures, but you should still, in theory, be running into plenty of chaff creatures who are meant to use up resources that color spray will be perfectly suited for. Then, following that, we have a spell that looks good at first, but really kind of falls apart fast. And that's Stunning Barrier. You target self for 1 round per caster level. You get a +1 deflection bonus to AC, a +1 resistance bonus to saves, and a creature that strikes you in melee is stunned for 1 round with a will save negating the stun, ending the spell. So that sounds decent at first, but then you realize that deflection bonus, well, that doesn't increase at all, and that is also going to overlap with Rings of Protection. Then that resistance bonus, that's going to overlap with Cloaks of Protection, or Cloaks of Resistance rather, and that's going to affect your saves, so that's going to really lose its effectiveness quickly. And the creature striking you in melee being stunned for 1 round, I mean, that's going to be good in the early levels, but pretty fast, decent will save creatures are going to come up, and bear in mind that this is a first level spell, so the save DC is going to drop off pretty quickly. So, and also, remember that that's only for a creature striking you in melee. Anything that's attacking you from a range is going to not be affected by that in the slightest. It also doesn't end the spell either, but it is very, very limited in its applicability and drops off very fast as you advance in level. But there are obviously way more spells in this. For example, Magic Missile is going to be absolutely great for you, especially with the Toppling Spell Meta Magic feat. And as you advance in level, Toppling Spell is only going to get better and better with that. And there are many others to consider, so what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? What spells might you also recommend for others out there, or which ones would you warn people against? There are certainly many to consider, and certainly some that are incredibly circumstantial where in most of your campaigns they're really not going to be all that useful, but in specific ones they might actually be worth every single spell slot that you use them on. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and remember, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. Join us, and give a round of applause for my most adorable co-host for being able to make it through an entire episode without knocking himself out with the microphone. That hasn't happened yet, just almost happened earlier. Anyways, thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night. We did it, Finny!